Hey, it's Marcus, international business author, business speaker, and Forbes Business Council contributor and fellow restaurateur. Question I often get asked by people is, how much does it take to open a restaurant? And this is a great question, right? Because nobody ever has the right answer of how much it takes to open a restaurant. Everything's so different. But I'm going to give you a little theory here that I learned years ago that I found to be very, very accurate or correct. So you basically need to figure out what you need to open that establishment. So you need to go through and get construction quotes, equipment quotes, licenses, things like that, insurance. And it's always more than you think, right? Like, you don't think that all of a sudden, hey, I need to hook up a soda gun, right? And you haven't budgeted for a soda gun, and all of a sudden the company comes in and goes, well, okay, here you go. You have to buy 5-6 different bag-in-a-boxes. We got to install the line. We got to install the equipment, and all of a sudden, yeah, your bill's $1,000, and you're like, wow, $1,000. I wasn't expecting to spend $1,000 on soda. And this is realistically what happens. Things just add up. So you really need to go into this looking at somebody else's budget and looking at all these items and walking into a restaurant, just pointing at things, saying, how much does this cost? How much does that cost? What did this cost? What did that cost? And talk to people and have a good business plan. There's lots of great programs out there. So once you figure out what you need, let's just say it's $100,000 to open the place. Now, that's really not what you need to actually the true opening cost. That might be the cost for just putting the equipment in place, buying the opening inventory, and letting people walk in the door. Some people don't budget ads in. You need to budget ads in. But here's the big thing. I learned this a long time ago in Colorado from one of the board members from the Restaurant Association. They said, Marcus, you figure out how much you need and you times it by 3 to 5. And I always thought that wasn't true. I'm like, Fred, what are you talking about? 3 to 5? It was like $100,000 turns into $300,000. He goes, Marcus, that's what you need to open a restaurant. If it's $100,000, it's $300,000 realistically. And as I open my own restaurant, and as I've helped other people open restaurants, that's true. And here's why this is true. A lot of restaurateurs open up prematurely. They open up because they think the day they open, they're going to start making money. They think that that's going to cure all evils, open money, start putting money in the bank account. And that's the farthest from the case, usually. Very rarely does a restaurant open month 1 and start turning a positive cash flow. You have to figure things out. Now, month 1 might be a great month because everyone wants to try you. And then all of a sudden your sales, start dipping down, because everyone wants to try a new restaurant. Especially in a smaller community, it's a no-brainer. And then they'll go back to typically eating it where they used to eat, unless you have a solid marketing and capturing their information plan to build your database. And a lot of restaurateurs I see just don't have that. Even established restaurateurs are lacking that. So here's what you need the other money for. You need the other money for just incidental pop-up expenses that you just didn't realize. Like now here comes the soda guy, and he wants $1,200 because he's installing your stuff and putting that in. You didn't really figure that out. A solid marketing plan, build a website. But here's the real thing. You need another $100,000 on top of the $100,000 to float the business. And sometimes you might need $200,000 to float the business for a year, for 12 months, 18 months. Because again, realistically, you really don't make money your first couple months, your first 6 months, whatever. And if you're paying back investors, you definitely don't want to be strapped in the very beginning to start making payments back to investors when your bank account is teetering zero. So that extra money is to really float your business and figure things out and continue to market. You should have enough money in the bank to have a solid marketing program for a year. So if you're spending $2,500 a month on marketing, $2,500 times 12 should be in the bank account to float your marketing for the year, because you're going to try to figure things out in marketing and you're not sure what's going to work. So that's why that money comes in crucial. I have a friend who has 40 restaurants and he takes $1 million every restaurant. He puts $1 million in the bank. It all comes from investors, by the way, too. And he only uses $400,000 to $500,000 to actually renovate and open the place, and the other $500,000 sits there as his cushion. And that's been his formula. Get twice the amount of what you actually need and float the operation. Now, he's not doing a small operation. He's doing a big operation, typically New York City. Rents are high, things like that. So he literally has an extra $500,000 to $600,000 in the bank ready to rock and roll, so he can float the business until it's a viable business. And every restaurant owner you talk to, they think, well, no, I'm different. I'm a different type of restaurant owner. I'm going to open up and I'm going to be profitable. You don't know that. You can't forecast that. It's the impossible. It's the unknown. So that right there is why most restaurants fail, is because they don't have enough of that money to float, and they go bankrupt and they give up because it's frustrating. And there you go. Restaurant rates have a massive, massive failure rate in the first year. In 5 years, 90+% of restaurants are gone. And right there, it's really they don't have enough capital to go into it to begin with. Being undercapitalized will kill your business. I'm Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I'm happy to answer.